Hello, welcome everybody. I have another really special guest today, Ryan Williams from Process Plan and Next Step. We are going to see why we have the two entity for him. And I tell you like how I met with Ryan. Richard Anderson, who interviewed like 2 weeks ago, sent me a really interesting software called Process Plan. And he was saying like, hey, it would be like a really great tool for a VCIO. And I was like, oh, okay, what's that? I was checking this software and it was like, I was able to design processes, and moreover, I was able to start those processes. So like I was creating for our internal process something, and I was able to start it, and it guided me through all the process. So it was like somebody else, it sent the email to them. I was able to create webhooks and everything like that. So it was like fully automated like a traditional process. So I was thinking, wow, guy is really, we need this thing. And I was checking we got a meeting with Ryan because we opted in for the software, and we get this meeting, and he shared the screen, and it was the ConnectWise logo there. You know what? Why the guy has ConnectWise out of the blue, right? Hey, you have an MSP. How you know that? You are using ConnectWise. Really? And he told me the background that they are operating an MSP, and they started VCIO, and they had this kind of interesting curve how he get to this process plan thing. But he's an MSP like us and rest of us, and he created like a software which is interesting for the whole community. And I wanted to make sure that we are going to have this interview. So welcome to Ryan here, and tell this little background story of you, like how even did you get to this kind of a process, and why you see that many services or anybody needs some kind of process today.
Okay. Oh, thank you for the introduction, and thank you for having me on. We started our managed services company back in around 2000, and we founded the company originally as a Lotus Notes development shop, for those of you that remember Lotus Notes. And as Lotus Notes began slowly fading away, and our clients were migrating off of Lotus Notes, we sought another platform that would allow us to solve the same types of process and workflow challenges in a rapid execution type of way. And the evolution of that idea it eventually led to the first version of Process Plan, which was out in the wild for about 2 years. Came back, redesigned it based on the lessons learned, and now we have what most people recognize as Process Plan today, which is a very visual tool in which you diagram processes, every process in your organization, anything that's repeatable, and Process Plan will manage the execution of every business process in the organization.
That's awesome. Like, we use right now for us to visualize. That was my first impression. I need some tool to visualize like processes, and I think internally and externally as well. Like, why do you think, like, how you see that? Let's go from the world, the bigger perspective. Like in 2014, 15, why these processes are getting interesting? Like, why we didn't have these kind of softwares back 10, 15, 20 years ago? Like, it's pretty obvious that we had processes back like in 10 years ago as well. Why is it? What has changed?
I don't know that anything has changed within the businesses themselves so much. It's just that the technology is evolving such that we can design solutions that solve those problems. Every business for eternity has struggled with proper and consistent execution of the processes they have in their organization, and the accountability of those processes, not just the execution of them, but ensuring the right people do things at the right time. What has made the evolution of technology interesting in solving that problem is now, with the interconnectivity of the internet and all these types of things, and web-based applications, cloud-based applications, we're able to interconnect multiple applications so that we can automate actions inside the organization. So for the people listening that may be ConnectWise users, Process Plan has full integration with ConnectWise. So we can both launch processes automatically from within ConnectWise, and then we can automate actions inside of ConnectWise as processes play out in the organization. So for instance, we can automatically create documentation in tickets, so engineers don't have to document in tickets anymore. No manual entry of documentation. We can automatically create time entries in ConnectWise. We can automatically create and set up projects and apply project templates to projects in ConnectWise, create activities and log them to opportunities. So a whole litany of automated actions that we can perform in ConnectWise by simply carrying out the process in Process Plan as it's designed. So
it's interesting because like you are talking about like an MSP, right? So MSPs are process factories, right? So because like many service manages really like everything in the air, right? The client, the technician, everything is. That's why we have to create some kind of solid processes. And basically, whoever have a great MSP has great processes as well. So if somebody like have a decent MSP, like 10, 15, 20 people, it's a machine, it's a factory, it's like a perfect tool for processes, right? So I think one item which I was thinking like, I was talking a couple of our clients and I was surprised, like I had 2 or 3 people who already using Process Plan inside their MSP. So they realize what you are saying, like we can save time and things like that and be more efficient. And I was asking like, hey guys, like you are doing something, are you offering something with Process Plan to your clients? And the 3 out of 3 was like, hey, you know, what I should do with that? It's, you know, nothing I do about processing. I was thinking like, you know, it's really interesting, like wait a sec, so stop. Every client of ours has many processes inside, right? So what we see, we a little bit on the infrastructure layer, right? Server layer, internet layer, and then the operational system device layer, and we don't really take care of the really important stuff, the applications, how they are using data and information. And for example, if you go, and I was asking the guy that, you know, why you don't just go to your client and check the 15, 20, 200 Excel sheet they have, which they try to use to follow like a process. Why you don't help them to understand the process itself and help them to create some automation? They are using many SaaS-based applications, like, and what I like in Process Plan was like I was able to create like calendar entry in our calendar. If it was, you know, somebody was doing something, it was sending back the information to Process Plan, it went through. So what I was able to do, like I had our processes inside our organization are really software centric, like lots of, you know, GoToMeeting, calendar, you know, meetings and whatsoever. I was able to, you know, do it like in a automated way. So I'm not an MSP, right? I'm another type of company. But and my question was, or why do you think is like the many services there with the client? You can have the conversation with the client about processes. You know how processes are working because you are a process factory, right? Why we as a community not helping our clients to do those processes better and actually ringing the cash register, right? So
sure.
Because you have an MSP as well, so
right. So historically, so we have a reseller model as well for people that would be interested in doing that. And historically, our resellers of Process Plan were management consulting types.
Okay.
We for a while we had a hard time getting MSPs to be willing to explore the option of offering process improvement in their clients as a service. And the primary reason for that was, and quite honestly continues to be, that the upper echelon of the organization, the owners, vice presidents, and senior managers tend to feel that they are the only ones within their organization that are qualified to offer that service, and their time is limited.
Yeah.
That's the primary pushback that we get. So what is beginning to change that, and what is helping, quite honestly, what is helping MSPs move more into that arena as far as offering process improvement as a deliverable to their clients is the fact that as specifically with Process Plan, as we continue to build out integrations with third-party tools, that then makes process improvement in an organization a technical problem, not a consulting problem.
Okay, I get it.
And so from that point of view, for instance, we've recently completed a very in-depth integration with Zapier.
Zapier, perfect.
So those that are familiar with that tool, as well as integrations with external data sources, where processes can be automatically launched based on triggers and things like that. That makes the implementation of process improvement in an organization a technical problem,
yes.
And MSPs feel very at home solving. And so that arena alone, whereas now, if you have a client that's running QuickBooks, we can automatically launch a process plan when a customer exceeds 90 days past due in QuickBooks, and that's an automated thing. But that is a technical linkage that has to occur. And quite honestly, historically, our partner network, being predominantly management consulting types, while they're very comfortable in the process consulting arena, they have no skill at all in the technical arena. And so we're very interested in involving the partner MSP community.
And that's really interesting because that's perfect. So just recap this whole thing. Like, so for example, when I go to I'm an MSP, and I found, and I'm treated as a tech resource, right? So they are not, hey, Dinesh, I have a process problem. No, they are not going to start with that, right? They are feeling something is not working. Or, for example, Zapier, it's a perfect example that virtual CIOs can make just money on doing Zapier integrations internal an organization. Like, lots of application can be, so it's a really great platform. And what I would do is that first of all, we need to somehow create the interest, right? So how to create the demand around this process problem is that discover some issue, discover where they have lots of Excel files, where they have what's the core of their business, whatever, right? And find some kind of technical issue, right? Okay, what if we do this? And just not selling somehow the process plan idea, but okay, what if we connect these three items, and I have a visual tool that now I have QuickBooks, so now it's 90 days. The next step is like sending an email to me and the client. This will be the email. Okay, what's next, Mr. Client? Let's say after 10 days do something. Okay, 10 days do something, put something in the calendar, and just show them how you put together like a process in something, and you demonstrate something. I bet they are going to be, wow. And you just clicking through the software, which is really awesome, and everything is visual, so it's like really cool.
Right. And that conversation often starts with, if you ask most organizations, do they agree that documenting their processes is a worthwhile activity, to have them documented and well understood? Most organizations would say, of course, it's a good idea to have your processes documented. The next question then becomes, how long after you document your processes do they become stale and out of date?
Yeah.
And then how do you ensure that people follow those processes once they're documented? And 100% of the time, people will identify that that is the key problem. So then you pull out your diagram and you say, well, look, Mr. Client, we can actually automate this process. So not only do we ensure that everything happens the way it's supposed to in the right order and everyone's accountable from A to Z, but we can even automate the initiation, management, follow-up, and completion of that process from a technical point of view by linking that together. And that's where the two join hands, as we mentioned a second ago. You're joining the process world with the technical world, which we come from, which then immediately identifies you in the client's mind that, hey, processes are just as much a technical problem as they are a management problem. And now, okay, I feel more at home now speaking with my managed service provider. So.
Yeah, so Ryan, and I think that's the really important part here, is that to do the technical part, what you do basically. Like I'm this guy who are finding you. I'm going to start asking questions, right? So what I do is consultation, right? So by nature, as I start to implement something into this platform, I become like a consultant. I'm not consultant per se, but because like it doesn't matter what the process is, because I don't have to understand their financial processes, because they understand that. Probably they have ISO documents or other type of compliance document what they already have. And what I found is like in that part, the critical problem which process plan or us or this whole community can have is one little item. Now you implement something which has to be working. What it means, when you do like a process in ISO 9001, whatever, it's written. I can do whatever I want. I can follow a little bit. I can follow more. Of course, I can have like different documentation. I can do it after because like have a compliance. But when I implement a software solution, that I'm not saying I'm rigid, because the software is like helping you to different options, but it's going to drive accountability. And I can feel some kind of problems in the human side that I don't really want that thing. But that was the original movement, right? I think that's why process and workflow management softwares wasn't really implemented in the SME space, because it was so, the culture of the companies are not there. You had these first flows from whatever softwares, but even you put those items, it's just not. It's good for mid-size or big companies. But when you are talking about the guy's iPhone, iPad, their SaaS-based applications which they are using now, and you are coming from that perspective, is that why we are not, you are using this stuff, why you don't get notification, why you are not triggering the process from your iPhone. Now that's a different conversation. It's not like I want to control you and control the organization thing. It's more likely, hey, you know what, why you are not be free? So I think that's another big item which is making this whole thing a disruptive model right now, because if you go into the technical way to your clients, they understand that we have processes with this stuff and that stuff and email and this sheet and that thing and that form and that information and this CRM, but it's like really hard to manage. And if you are not getting from the compliance perspective but productivity perspective, I think it's way more easy to start from like how to call it, island of excellence, when you start something from one place of the organization and it start to get viral and get success. I think that's what can happen.
Right.
So
yeah, and the message to most organizations that want to push back with regard to the implementation of accountability, the way you just described, is that process plan basically takes it can be, if you look at process the correct way, it is a liberating experience. So if process plan is going to walk me through every step that I need to accomplish to successfully bring resolution to an issue or to deliver value to the end client, then I'm liberated at that point, because I know as long as I follow this process, I'm doing everything that I can to deliver value to whoever it is requesting from me. One of my favorite analogies is that if you take a large locomotive and you have it cross a cornfield, it's going to struggle because it has no track to follow. Whereas if you take that big massive locomotive and put it on tracks and it has a path that it can follow now, then it becomes a beautiful, powerful thing at that point. So processes are the same way in that regard. You give people paths to follow to accomplish things in the organizations, and you connect everyone together, and the organization begins to run like clockwork at that point.
So let's check it out. Like we have the idea now, I guess, that why processes are interesting in 2015, why it's a liberating thing, why we can have it from a technical perspective. And I think most of the time, I'm not saying all of the time, but we had as MSPs or people or community, we had many softwares come and go all the time, right? New thing, come, fade, whatever. And this is the same here as well, in a sense. So my question, which I think most of the MSPs are going to struggle, is that, okay, Ryan, how can I make money with that? Because what we are really good at MSPs is to give free advice. It's really so the industry is so creative with giving free advice that it's really, so you can see that it's almost like lots of people put a lot of effort to be able to not charge for something. And you are laughing, but you know that, right? How easy to, I'm going to fix your thing, this is the process plan. Okay, but somehow, how I'm going to be compensated, and I think that's what we should have next. What's what I'm selling now? So okay, now I'm going to somehow demonstrate to you that there is like a little software which you can buy. I get commission. I'm happy. I would like you to use it, but I would like to put myself onto that thing. So let's say you are interested on that, but what's the natural step? Because if we can't create boundaries or packages, or we can't create like one piece of sheet like what's going to be included and excluded from the service, whatever, we are going to start working with many clients and not get paid, and it's really hard to change it later, right? So right. Do you have any idea or model to price package this type of thing? I pretty much know how a professional VCIO would do that, right. But I don't know if you don't have any VCIO activities with your client, how would you do that from a technical perspective?
So there's, if I don't answer the question, then stop me, but there's basically 3 different ways to attack that problem as far as generating revenue for the firm. The first one is we actually share margin with the firm. So when you introduce a process plan to an organization, even if it's to a small department in the organization, inevitably the adoption of process plan within an organization expands throughout the organization over time, organically. So that one aspect alone, if you introduce process plan to the organization, the revenue from the organization will grow over time.
Yeah, exactly.
Just from a margin sharing point of view. At the less sophisticated end, we enable anyone who wants to do process consulting to generate about $800 to $1,000 an hour effective rate when doing process consulting. And the reason for that is because you can replicate your work from one client to another with very little effort. So if I help you solve your new client onboarding problem, I can go to 5 other clients and help them with that same problem and spend a fraction of the time helping those other clients because I can replicate my work from one to another.
Yeah, that's
kind of on the, so you can generate extremely high effective rates in a project model.
Okay, wait a second. Just don't
Sure.
Don't run so fast. So what you are saying, we are not going to charge by hour.
Oh no.
Okay, I like it. I preach the same. Hide everything based on our VCIO stuff is the same. Like create a monthly recurring service and sell the value instead of your hours. And if you can leverage more tool, more stuff, your effort is go down, your margin go up. And that's what you can't really do with your traditional MSP service. For example, your RMM is doing the same when you do like that. Is leveraging. Okay. What is the service included? So what you would put there? So how would you, like, I have this onboarding process, you help me, and what you are going to have? Is it a project based, or is it something like a continuous monthly fee, or how would you put it together?
So that's what I was saying. On the less sophisticated end, it would be more project driven. So it would be typically a fixed fee to solve a particular process problem. So if they're struggling with new employee onboarding, you charge them $5,000 to solve that problem. You implement a process template that's already created that I can actually share with the community, so they don't even have to create that from scratch. It has 50 or 60 tasks in it. So when the client implements that, they're ecstatic. Excuse me. You spend very little time tweaking it to fit their environment, and excuse me, and everybody's happy. On the more sophisticated side, we actually turn that service into a managed service for continuous process improvement. So for a flat monthly fee of whatever you determine, depending on the size of the organization, maybe 2,000 to 5,000 or up per month, we will be your process improvement, continuous process improvement change agent within your organization.
Wow!
And we will simply go from one department to another, documenting and automating processes every month. And then we still, as an MSP, we still get the benefit of leveraging our work from previous clients into newer clients. So our effective rate, even on those managed services engagements, just like we do on the technical side, right? Just because we get better at delivering a service, we don't charge less for it. We just make more margin. We do the same thing on the process improvement side. The better you get at understanding business processes and implementing them and leveraging previous work in new clients, the higher your margins get over time, and your customers are ecstatic as well. And it's one more managed service, repeatable, recurring monthly revenue that appears on your invoice.
I like it. So a little bit of recapping that. So I go and I try to create like a use case with one little obvious process, because I can have process templates in the process plan library, and I can somehow share with the community, things like that. So I don't have to figure out by myself. So what I can do is like, I can go from, hey, so I see like a template process for somebody, onboarding like an HR thing, because they don't know how to do that. So, hey, wait a sec, this is like visual stuff. First, go through on these steps. Does it make sense? Does it make sense? No, cut. So you have one template actually, which you can start the conversation, which is basically consulting, right? And what you say after that, you go inside the software and change those items and a little bit customize to their need and wire all their applications or their people. Why I like it? Because like you are going to be really stuck, right? So lots of people are saying now, it's like we have a support line, help desk, is good for, hey, I don't see my email kind of thing. And somebody told me, it was like, I think from Jeff Anderson from Canada, he called it like a user enablement service. User enablement is like, hey, you know what, I would like to do something with my iPhone to do, I seen those applications. So it's like, not when we fix something, that when we enable somebody to using a tool, right? And you can do it for the executives, so you give this service to executives and you send them to do applications, whatever. And this can be like capturing the items, right? Because they are going to call you like, hey, this process is not working that way, I would like to change it. No problem. You make the change on the process and they don't have to. So in this case, you have your support line, it's a technical issue. So, and integrate and webhooks, it's still like, oh, webhook is like technical. Like link, whatever, and I see the value that our technical people can elevate to this stuff without any effort, because like usually what you see in, just think about the MSPs are working all the time in their processes. Hey Joe, you are my tech guy, check out this RMM, check out this new feature in ConnectWise. And what we do, we ask Joe to create some process about a new feature of ConnectWise, right? So Joe can do the same thing with our clients as well, right? So it's not something like rocket science. So I get it. So somehow the pricing or how we package projects and ongoing service. But my question to you, like, and what I would like to somehow get here, like, I'm afraid, I don't believe I can do that, right? Jesus, I have to do this process thing. I really don't see myself doing that. What's the typical stuff which is really technical, really doesn't need to do any consulting stuff. But still, like, and many service really easily can do. What's these 5-6 different process or something which really easy to grab and really easy to find that this happening, and it's really easy to give some hint that why we don't automate this thing.
So you're talking about identifying opportunities within the client's organization?
Yes, but in a manner which is very technical.
Right.
I will know that, I will be able to understand that. It's if I'm a CEO, probably my people can replicate that. So like an account manager guy can go through all of our clients and pitch those items, so I don't have to take care of this thing. It's not custom, it's not something like I have to go there. So what you were saying, like the big pushback is like, okay, I'm a CEO, I can do that, but how my team would able to do that? So typical stuff which is really easy, you have the template, you have the process for that, so that's really down to earth, easy stuff to start with.
Right, so the kind of the low-hanging fruit when it comes to processes in organizations are always new employee onboarding. Every organization in the world struggles with that in some way. If they're a service-based organization, then new client or new customer onboarding is always a big one. Project management, so we have project management templates as well. For service organizations, sales to service handoff is a huge issue as well. That especially applies in the MSP community as well.
Yeah, the sales guys are lying and the engineers has to...
Right, exactly. So we have, we actually, for MSPs that sign up to use Process Plan, we actually have a sales to service handoff process that we can actually provide to them free of charge, just as a benefit of using the tool. Which will basically automate that process within the organization. Beyond that, month-end close procedures are another good one. So there's a litany of them. There's probably 15 to 20 that I can provide a list for MSPs that want to get started.
So now, because I want to work with you guys in this stuff. What if we put together like these 20 different typical shitty items, we put inside the grader, right? And we can create a little questionnaire which every account manager can go through with a client and rate how much of your current normal general processes are automated and which one is not automated. And you can have like from like 10 or 15 typical, which every client has, we can address those items, and now we can see which the 4 is the low-hanging fruit, right? For that you provide the process plan, documents, and somehow this, I'm not saying sales tool, but something which can trigger those conversations. And basically that's the only thing you need from an MSP perspective, because you have a discovery tool. It could be like a grader or something like that. And what you do is the service including the discovery, and then first create the project, one of those items to fix, but it's typical because like you have the templates, you have to just implement the first process. So it's basically a demonstration. So you can sell like $2,000 for this typical thing. This is a low-hanging fruit. You go to the QBR, you will go through with these processes and say, you know what, that's going to be like the first thing. And if you don't satisfy, money back, whatever. Just get back the burden. Right. It's like cookie cutting. I wouldn't really see any pushback from a client perspective. It's not a big deal. Usually they can find from the time everybody has a process they hate, right? So if you find that one, it's like and me and everybody knows how much we would pay if somebody fixed those items, right?
Every person who's in a leadership position or management position in the world worries that things are not happening with the people that report to them, worries that things are not happening the way they should. A customer didn't get a phone call that they should have received, or we didn't set up the project, or we didn't bill it correctly, or we promised them one thing and then delivered another. Every manager worries with those types of issues, that is the problem that process plan solves.
So
basically. So when process plan is really humming and really working in an organization, managers then spend time coaching people instead of worrying that people are not doing what needs to be done to deliver value to the client.
Yeah. So
process plan manages that part of the equation, and then you're just spending your time helping people get better, not spending your time trying to make sure they're doing what needs to be done.
Not micromanaging, but having leadership roles. So like helping them, skill building, things like that, instead of, hey, have you done yeah, it's and that's kind of different culture, I guess. So probably you should start with a higher maturity clients when they like processes are there, but they are struggling with that. But lots of people in the low maturity, they don't really see, even they don't realize what process means. So it's like different stuff. But I think from the 25 people level, when they start to figure out that they need to manage people, they are not going to be able to scale without team and things like that. That's when they start to work on their company, read books about that stuff. And
right.
Probably that's the good hint to start with. So I think I don't really see any obstacle here for a managed service perspective. Just the belief that
that's exactly right.
Yeah, that you believe, like I was saying, like the Virtual CIO as well with the sales thing. It's like most of the MSPs, unfortunately, really undervalue themselves. They see themselves. It's really like a psychology kind of thing. Like they want to see themselves as a trusted advisor, but they want to always prove it because they don't believe they are. And it's creating this free service and lots of other stuff, And there are people who believe, I'm a trusted advisor, my time worthwhile. I can have the guy. He has a bottleneck which I can release. And I'm the value there. So somebody go with the same skills at same time with that attitude, he rocks. Because that's what you need. And that's really interesting that most of the people, they don't believe that, I had like a coaching session 2 hours ago, and the guy was realizing that, yeah, probably I manage processes way better than most of the 100, 200 people companies. With my 25 people MSP. Yes, right. Pretty much. And because we think tools, we think ConnectWise, Zapier, everything, we are in this mindset. Our clients not in this mindset. So if even just give them the mindset is a huge improvement for them, and that's a value which we can give them. But we don't see it's a value because we have this one. But it's really value for others. So it's like I just can't emphasize that. Go there and ask those questions and feel that something is fluid. They want that. They want it from you guys.
Right. And just on that quick topic right there, the most people assume that process improvement requires a specialized education, certification,
MBA, whatever, right?
MBA. It really doesn't. All it is asking one question over and over again, and that is, what's next? So the process, you go to the client, you say, okay, the process starts, and you say, okay, what happens next? And then you write it down, and you say, okay, well, what happens after that? And you write it down, and you just continue to do that. It doesn't take specialized skill, and for those that are familiar with Process Planner who would end up doing the free trial on the website, you would see that the interface of designing those processes basically follows that same logic. So you're basically just saying what's next, what's next. You don't have to know any special symbols and nomenclature and things like that to do it. It's it's much easier than people think. Yeah,
and the other thing, if you have a template, you have something which you can start implementing. So what we do, and this is a little bit for the community, is we are working with Ryan to be able to put together our virtual CIO processes in process plan. So someone has process plan, they can start VCIO type of activities from process plan, or just have the look of the design and the sales process. And every process we are teaching is we are going to put implement there. So someone needs that, can automate it with that kind of mindset. That's the one thing. The second thing, what I feel is like putting together with Ryan some kind of Virtual CIO offering, like a service. What's included? The light process management plan, the medium and the high. What could be inside? That's I guess the next couple of months work with the community to figure out how to put those items together to be repeatable, what the type of skills we need, what the workshops looks like, to a little bit design that to be more easy for MSPs to have those services. So we are working that with Ryan as well, and yeah, so I think that helps the community to move and somehow realize that potential before somebody else is going to realize that. So and you know what, my question based on when we are wrapping up, like, do you have like, give me like 4 or 3 hints and tips which you can give to MSPs to somehow start this whole thing, because you have your MSP, and your MSP has virtual CIO role, and you of course consult with your existing clients from the MSP perspective with process plan. So like, what was the first thing you did, like how you teach a tech guy to do that? So anything which is like you see that you can give as an advice to somebody who are interested to work on that but don't know what's the first steps.
Right. So there's two different aspects of that. So process plan from an internal use point of view, we basically because we are an MSP, we can share a lot of the core MSP related processes, like I mentioned, sales to service handoff and things like that. So if you sign up for a process plan account in the free trial and you do the orientation call with us, if you mention that you are an MSP, I will give you probably around 10 internal business processes, not the VCIO types of processes, but the ones that are more business architecture type of processes, like I mentioned. So we will give those to you free of charge, and you can run with those in your organization. So they give you a massive head start. From the customer engagement point of view, where you're actually going into a client, 9 times out of 10, the best way that I have found to approach a client about process improvement is actually to give them a visual
example
look at process plan itself.
Yeah.
Show them the diagram and how the processes play out, and then describe for them how process plan would manage the accountability and the execution of those processes. You can go into clients and ask them, hey, what do you struggle with? And we can solve those problems. Most clients don't readily have that at the top of their brain. What am I struggling with? Because every day it's something different. But they all know they're struggling with those types of things. So if you give them a visual,
like a vision, how would you be able to work? What's the possibility? What's the big thing? What's the vision? That's examples. It's really nice.
Right. So you go into their client, you go into their conference room, you pull up on their display in their conference room, show them process plan with specifically the visual diagramming aspect of it, and how that looks, and describe how it executes, and customers will 9 times out of 10 engage with you on the spot to do that. It is very rare that a customer actually sees that visual and hears that description of how it can automate and make their business run smoothly, that they don't accept that, because it's just a very intuitive thing for them to understand about how it works.
And these basically, guys, these are your existing clients, right? So you know them, and you probably can show their pains because you pretty much know them. So I'm really looking forward at Ryan that what this thing will create for us, because I believe virtual CIOs, that's a great revenue opportunity, like a VCIO process, thing which we can create, like education and everything like that. The other thing is, like, your tool is awesome, and I really promote and everything to the community, because like I believe that it helps a lot. And it's just, guys, feel free, use Ryan. You are pretty much going to get the details here and everything like that, and just feel free to contact him, I guess, directly, because like he's running an MSP, so he knows, I think, this thing better than most of us. So thank you, Ryan, for your time, and I'm really impressed, and that's a really great thinking, which is really forward thinking, and I just can't wait to see that how this ConnectWise integration is going to fold out. So that's really interesting. So thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks, bye.
All right, bye-bye.